Hello and good day. I'm making this documentation to make the LeaderBoad API service clearer for other students to use. Well, you see, you were given this documentation. Here is your base URL. If you click on this, it wouldn't go through. Cannot get, that's fine. So let's go back to the documentation. The endpoint is /games. So at this particular endpoint /games if I enter, it will still not go through. I'm supposed to kind of send a post request to get a new ID for my game from the API. So to get that particular key to add to my link, I would use this call command. You copy this call command, you go to your terminal, and I'm pasting it. So you kind of give it the name you want to give it. So for me, since this is a tutorial for LeaderBoard API, let me call it a LeaderBoard API. LeaderBoard API, or should I API? And I can enter it. If it's successful, you see it was successful. So it says this key was added. So what I will do is I'll copy this particular key. This is the key that I'm going to add to my URL to make a post or a GET request. So I'm going back to the documentation. So you see, this is what they were saying you should do. This particular part is what we added. This JSON object, we added it via the terminal. Result with this successful. To return this. So the ID we got there, we are now going to use it here. /game/ we'll now put the ID, then /course. That is the terminal we want to talk to. So for this particular API that I used here that threw an error, I would now add this ID to it, the ID I just created, then /course. Then I'll hit enter. That's it. It's returned an empty result. The result is empty. Let me copy this out to my Chrome. I think my Chrome displays it a bit better. So we actually don't need some of these tabs. So I don't think we need this as well. We don't need this. We don't need this. Okay, so I will paste this here. It formats properly because of the so this is better. So that being said, we are now ready to get and post to this particular API. So how do I do that? It's a question most students will ask. I've done this brief tutorial explaining that. This is basically the HTML part. So let me run this command, npx live server, to start it. Okay, so if you look at this, if I click on here to show scores, nothing would display. Okay, something displayed. I have now updated the key, so I need to update the key so that I'll carry you along. That particular key I created, this particular key, just a minute, this particular key I created here will come back to my code and update my key. So I will replace this key with the one we just created. I will save that, and if I click here now, okay, if I click here, nothing will show again because our object is empty. So let's create our first user. Let me add just first user. Then what should be the score? Can somebody tell me? Let's give him 100. So if we click on submit, then it has posted, because if we come here and we refresh this, we will see the data. Score 100, user first. I actually did not do much coding because I just want to, this video is just to show on how to get and fetch from this particular LeaderBoad API. If I click on syscall, you see first user 100. So I've created the first user. The first one I posted to it. The second one, on clicking this, I read from it. So let me create another user. Okay, let me go with second user. Let's give, as their users are coming, their scores are increasing. Let's give it 200. I will post. It has posted. If I click here, it's going to update it, the second user with the first. So this is a brief tutorial and that's it. So let's go to the code. Now this is the index part of it. This is a form. This particular form, it has the name and the for here we have the user and the score. So then here, where's the click? This is where the click button to display the details, and when we click this click button, it adds the various details to this particular div for us to see. So let me go to the index.js, the JavaScript code. So this will know, I just btn document.query selector btn.click. I just want to have access to the click event, this particular one. That's where I'm heading to. So the form, I just want to have access to the form here too, as well on line 2. This particular form, that's line 13 to, yeah. So back to the index form. So you see, I created a button to be this, then I said this is my URL, then my key is this one on line 5 that is being added there. So btn.add event listener click. This can be designed in various ways that you want to design it. You could write an async function, whatever you want to do, listen to it anyhow you want to do it. It's just to fetch API. It's not teaching various ways to do it. So from this fetch is inbuilt. You pass in your URL. This is the URL on line 7. Then you put the method here should be get inside these options. This should be the options parameter. These two curly braces. Some people write options and their options are outside that they pass it in. Then rest. This is should respond. The response when you use a fetch. This is the next step to do. Convert it to JSON format. Then the next one will be the data. Now, before the display, I created user details. This particular user details on line 4. If we go back to the index.html, user details is this empty div. This is where I want to be adding the elements to. So that is that. On line 18 is the user details. So I get it. I set it to empty. .inner HTML to be empty. Then the data that has now returned from the get request, you see, if you go to this place, This is a result, and this is the array of various results. If I refresh it, you see that there are going to be two first and second user. Yeah, this is second user, this is first user. Array of two objects. The key is the results, and so I would kind of, the data I've gotten, data.result. For each element in the array. This is what I want to do. I want to create a div. I want to create these two h1 elements. Then the user one is one is the div, the other one is the user, the other one is the score to be displayed. So I want the user.inner HTML to be element.user, the content, the value. This, the user should be second user or first user. Then this particular one should display the score. This particular one should display the score. Score.inner HTML should be equal to the score. Then the div.append user. This particular user is being appended to this div we created here on line 22. On line 28 again, div.append score. We're appending the score to that particular div. Then on line 29, finally, we're appending the div we created on line 22 to the container we created here, this particular container. So it's just like we're going to have various divs for various users. This should be user 1, and like that user 2, but I'm going to delete this. It's going to be doing it dynamically. So that is basically it. So for the get request, like I said, let me go up a bit. You just fetch, you get, this should be in your headers, this should be your options. Then that's all, everything else follows. Then to post data, this is the form.add event listener on submit. Line 37, you just prevent the default behavior of the browser from submitting forms immediately or whatever. Then there's this form data, a way of listening to data from your form. So basically, this form data, it's a form constructor that is being used in JavaScript. So if you want to find what is there, if you just, this payload now equals to form data, if you console.log this, the payload is there, but it's going to be showing empty. So how you'll be able to look at the data and kind of analyze it or play with it the way you want, you can kind of spread it out like this. So let's go to the console and look at that. If I come to this place and I kind of inspect, I'm going to my console, there's nothing there. So let's add another user. Okay, I think Jack wants to be added. Let's give him 300. So if I click on this, you see I say this form, this will be empty. That's on line 45. Where is it? Yeah, here. The payload is empty, but once you kind of spread this, create an array and spread the payload in it on line 50, this particular one, line 50, you see, that's it. That's the content that is there. So what I want to do actually is to kind of have an object where I'll be able to push as the body of my post request. This still is the options parameter from here to here. So in the options parameter after the URL, I'm going to have a method. It's going to be post. My headers, I'm going to set it to content type / application JSON. Then the body is going to be this payload, but I want to stringify it since I'm writing to the API. So this payload is what I'm trying to create. That's why I decided to create all these variables. And these variables, if you look at this is where I'm extracting the user and the score. So to extract the user and the score, you talk about, for the user, you say array at 0. at position 1. This will give us the user value, which will be Jack as the user. Then the score value, array at 1 1, this particular one, which is 300 as the user, or whatever the case may be. So payload object equals to, this is an object literal, and that's how we created it. Once we pass this data here, the body equals to JSON.stringify payload object. That's all. These other ones down here is just the normal formalities that comes with fetch request. So I believe with this brief explanation, you'll be able to use this particular LeaderBoad API to make your various calls and to make your various, create a game, a new game that's for the particular game, get the ID, post and read from the particular scores on whatever the case may be as you are developing your game. Thank you very, very kindly. And this brings me to the end of this recording.